I think
I
you
know,
do.
I'm smarter than the card. I'm a
Okay.
smart card.
Okay. I'm Peg Cohn. I'm the Chairman Pro Tem for the Planning Commission. Calling to order this meeting of the Planning Commission for Thursday, November 3rd at 2:35. And present are Mayor Abel and myself, Peg Cohn, and Harry Kanashiga, absent Wayne Key and Joanne Prisley. So we have a quorum. Would anybody who would like to speak please stand to affirm that you will be telling the truth? You affirm that you will tell the truth?
Yes.
We have no cases on the agenda, but we have a whole long list of communications. The first one is a notification about the fact that we will eventually be asked for a zoning designation for University Estates, assuming that they are successful in their annexation. So we have a plat map and that notification, but we don't have to take any action on it at this point. We have a survey of a notice of a survey of planning practice in small and medium-sized cities from, did I find it? Yeah, anyway. From the Department of Urban Studies and Planning at MIT, and they're announcing the results. They had 1,000 responses to their survey, and if you want to view them, you can go to www.urbanrevitalization.net and click on Planning Practice Project. And I gather they must have surveyed somebody connected with us, since they're thanking us for our cooperation. We have a letter from Anna, the Athens Near North Side Association. Is anybody here to speak about this? Mr. Sofranic? Did you swear that you'll? Okay, affirm that you'll tell the truth.
I do swear.
And would you like to come over to the microphone and give us your name and your address?
Well, my name is Bill Sofranic, and I live at 34 Grosvenor Street. And the letter from Anna, I'm not going to go through it here. I just hope you'll all read it, though. And I do hope that, when this comes up in your discussions of the comprehensive plan, I or somebody else from Anna can hit at that particular time. And, if there's any questions on our position about and why we think this way on that particular part of the comprehensive plan at that time, hope we can engage in the conversation. But at this point, hope you'll give our positions your consideration.
You're basically asking that the family definition in the zoning code be changed so there would just be no more than two unrelated persons in household.
As the present comprehensive plan provides.
Okay. The next one is a letter from the Athens Environmental Committee to the Planning Commission containing information in the implementation of environmental topics in the comprehensive plan about open space. And is anybody here to speak about this? Okay.
Muriel Grimm, 24 Canterbury Drive. This is presented to you by a group of people that's been working on the relationship between current code and suggestions from the comprehensive plan, and we realized that open space, the words open space are a problem because they've been defined in one section. I think it's possibly Title 23, but I'm not sure, just a space open to the air, yet there is another section, complete section, on open space zones, and those, of course, have no relationship to the words open space. So we made two suggestions here. One would be that open space be defined, and we offer our definition. And the second is that instead of using open space zone, which doesn't really seem to have any consistent meaning in other cities' codes, either everyone defines it differently, we're suggesting using recreational space or cultural space, which works out to cover all of the areas we now have zoned as open space. So basically, we're asking your consideration of our suggestions, and I guess our next question would be, or we would like you to comment on what would be the process that would go on to, for you to consider this, and what else do we need to do, if anything?
Muriel, if I remember correctly, it's in the zoning code as a definition. It's in the land use area.
It's
then-
somewhere, I can't remember where I saw it now, but it's somewhere where it talks about private homes. There's a definition of open space. I'm not
Right.
sure
And then
which.
there's, somewhere in the floodplain, there's a definition too, because in the flood control regulations, because you're allowed to have certain types of recreational structures, I guess, within the flood zone, but certain other things, it has to be able to be flow through, is
Right.
in their definitions. And so part of that, I mean, we were, I think, trying to meet different goals in each one of those. And it's one of the problems that we had when we were last revised the zoning code was, how do you get a definition that fits all city code? And there's a number of things that's extremely difficult to do.
Right, and I think that's part of what we're looking at. That's why we'd just like open space defined separately from everything else. And then I think it might be possible, although I don't know because I haven't looked at the other parts, but it might be possible to further define open space when you're using it in relationship to floodplains. Like you could take our broad definition, and then subdivide it a little bit more when you're talking specifically, or add to it, embellish it, whatever, when you're talking about floodplains.
Right. Certain of those codes are ones that do go through the planning commission, like the zoning code. We would have to originate the changes there. But I believe land use, we can make a recommendation to council, but we're not, I don't think they're required to come back to us for that. And I know it's been presented to council. I mean, this was the original in September, right? And then this was an update?
Yes, yeah, this was at the most recent council meeting, yeah.
Okay.
I think...
Because it didn't,
the
my copy
only-
didn't have a date on it, so that's why I wanted to make sure that it supersedes that, and I'll remember that.
Yeah, I think the only change was that we had used the term green space and then realized we hadn't yet defined green space, and so we changed it to containing living plants rooted in the ground.
Any other questions? My suggestion would be that we
Study this.
put this and the Near North Side Neighborhood Association suggestion together into a zoning file to consider at the time we get to the zoning and the comprehensive plan. And
Well, I think the Anna proposal was more, is both the comprehensive plan review that we're doing right now, and then the zoning thing.
right, yeah,
Or
but
it's change
Yeah.
at some point.
it seemed to me that when we get to when we get to these sections in the comprehensive plan, that's really time to consider these
Right.
suggestions first, and then if they require zoning changes in the zoning code, then we can
Right.
initiate a recommendation to council about the zoning code. Okay?
Okay, thank you.
Thanks. Okay, and the next one is, well, that's both of those, about the open space and the open space definitions. Did you all have the, well, there was also one other communication
Yeah,
from Gary
yeah.
Hunter about the NCR retirement PUD and council conditions for approval. Does anyone want to speak to that?
Well, I think that what Gary did was interpret what we had made as recommendations and reviewed the various conditions that council wanted to impose and said, well, he thinks these are within the intent of the Planning Commission and some others are outside of the intent of the Planning Commission. And I think as a courtesy, he sent it to us to say, if we want to object that it was or wasn't, or if he's not right on one. The only one that I know when he presented it to council, let's see, I don't remember which one, my number.
Well, the number 19, the additional statement regarding nursing beds was nothing that we sent.
No,
And the fencing of the drainage ditch was nothing that I recall, or even discussing.
there was some, I know we had a discussion with him about a sidewalk on Stimson, that we wanted that, and I think he referenced and said that it was outside of our discussion,
Oh, okay.
but
Um,
that was the only one that I could remember that, but we didn't make it a condition of it, but we strongly urged the developer to include a sidewalk. Yeah, number
Right,
7.
that's number 7, yeah.
And he's making the statement, this is something the Planning Commission could have considered but did not. He's requiring a 3/1 vote. And I remember it as a discussion point with the developers at a couple of the different meetings. Because I think Wayne brought that up initially.
Okay. So is there anything that we need to do other than be aware of this?
Just be aware of it, and if there's something you have a question or want to comment back to him on, feel free.
Okay, the next item on the agenda is announcements and other business. The next Planning Commission meeting will be the 17th of November. And we will probably meet in between for working on the comprehensive plan. We'll probably meet next Thursday, but I'm going to be out of town. So presumably Joanne will be back by then.
Well, we're just wrapping up Chapter 13 of Phase 1 right now, as I recall.
Yes. I was going to...
That's Joanne's.
Yeah.
She's gotta be here.
And I was...
She has Chapter 1 and 2, she's key.
Well, I was
Phase
going to
2.
suggest that maybe we set aside Chapter 13 and one person work on it to get it into a more condensed format and a format that agrees with the table of contents and is more consistent, because it's really hard to tell. They go back and forth between goals and objectives and outcomes, and it would be a lot easier to have it all in one format. And I'd be willing to do it, but I don't think there's any point in doing it by committee.
No.
So then I was going to suggest that we might want to go on today to Chapter 1 of Part 2.
That'd be
That's
fine.
Joanne's also.
Yes.
I know my chapters in Part 2 don't come till later, but
Right, 6 and 7.
yeah. Well, at any rate, we don't have to deal with that yet. Are there any other announcements? Or is there any other business? Opportunity for citizens to speak on items not covered on the agenda. Muriel?
I would just like to find out whether the Planning Commission is going to be addressing Campus Edge development proposals? Do you have it on your agenda?
The which?
The Campus
Campus
Edge.
Edge.
We don't have anything.
We haven't had any submissions from them. The last one that I was aware of we had submitted was the Birches and Nybo engineering report stuff back to them for, I think it was pretty much at a final approval. We noted that they hadn't paid their bill for, reimbursed the city for doing that, and basically said they needed to do that before they came back to us. They haven't been back. And then I have heard from Mr. Downey that the developers out of Georgia that were doing this have dropped the project. And he's searching for another developer. And I've met with a couple
That must be
people that he's saying, but I've seen no submissions. I know he asked for the last copy of the last one the Planning Commission had approved, some 3 years ago. Which I don't know if, Melissa, if we ever get that from Steve, or, no, I don't remember, because it's 3 years ago files are in the back files.
Okay, and so
So not as far as
normally you would know enough in advance that we would find out. If there-
Oh, they have to submit it at least a week ahead of time to be on the agenda. And in that way, we've always held to that if we don't have it a week ahead of time so that the public and ourselves have time to review, it's delayed to the next meeting.
Okay, thank you.
Any other comments, citizens speaking, anything? Okay, we have the minutes from the last meeting. I've given Melissa my changes that were just basically some editorial changes. So can I have a motion for?
I would
Oh, you
move
weren't.
to adopt or accept the minutes
Okay.
of the last
With
meeting.
modifications. So I'll second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Adjournment?
I
Fine with
move we
me.
adjourn.
Okay. We're adjourned at 10 minutes of 3. That's
Gee.
a record. Okay, now shall we go into a work session?